A new angel of death has risen, with supernatural strength, a mystical sword, and a thirst for justice. She hunts the criminals who evade the law. Who is she? What secrets does she hold? And can she be stopped before her crusade turns into something even darker?
What's that? You want to be scared? Come with me. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Listen in the dark. It's more fun that way. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, my spookies. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for a little spooky in your weekly. I'm your host and narrator, Enrique Couto, and tonight is a night many of you long-time Weekly Spooky listeners have been waiting for. Because you see, in Strickfield, a new angel of death has risen. And believe you me, things are about to get very, very messy. But before we get into that story, I want to say a huge thank you for listening to the program, whether you're brand new or you've been following the Angel of Death for a very long time. In the last 5.5 years, I've had a great time bringing you scares every week, and I'm very grateful to have you here. Make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcasting app, and if you want to support us directly, head to weeklyspooky.com/join. For as little as $1 a month, you can join 100 other spookies in helping us bring you a scary story, and you get 2 bonus shows every single month, as well as 5 years of back content, including audiobooks, creepypasta readings, and so much more. That's at weeklyspooky.com/join. I really do appreciate it, but now it's time for the topic at hand, because we have a dark night ahead of us. Justice and vengeance, well, sometimes it's hard to tell them apart. The law is supposed to keep the world in order, to stop the bad guys before they can hurt anyone else. But what happens when the law fails, when the criminals walk free, untouched and unpunished? Well, for a long time in Strickfield, the Angel of Death was what happened. But after Reagan Devereaux, the Angel of Death, was arrested and put in prison, all of a sudden, more criminals are dying. So who's behind this? Well, we'll find out after this. An Angel Rises by Rob Fields. The rejuvenation bath in the secret cavern is almost at its peak. I'm completely naked as I step into the awaiting waters. I can already feel the power of the bath as I descend until I'm completely submerged. I haven't felt the powers of the bath in so long. I'm becoming revitalized with fantastic new energy. I can literally feel my muscles expanding. I feel myself becoming more and more powerful when I breathe the water into my lungs. I must remain underneath the waters until the impurities I've accumulated through the years are completely purged. And then I finally feel the sudden surge of being fully revitalized. I resurface and see the glowing crystals that illuminate this magnificent cavern. The water in the bath is the cleanest and clearest there is. I remain in the waters a bit longer before I finally come out. The water drips from my naked body. Why did I initially choose to go for so long in forsaking the powers given to me by... The point is, I've returned and am using the bath's powers again. This cavern has been in our family for many generations. Now I am the last in my bloodline. I move to the altar and find the costume I designed. I can't even begin to tell you how wonderful it feels when I put it on. Now I'm nearly covered from head to toe. Only my raven hair is exposed. To complete the outfit, I lift my sword from the altar. My sword was forged from the very same crystals that line this cavern. Now it's time to put it to use once again. I leave these caverns now and assume the duties that were vacated by my predecessor, Reagan Devereaux. Where one door closes, another one opens. I've been reading the Strickfield Journal and watching the news for a while now. I recently learned that a known serial killer and rapist by the name of Richard Rocco Granite has been free for quite some time. The police have yet to track him down. Doing careful detective work, I determined that Granite is hiding out on the south side of Pendleton. He has a younger girl he's been staying with. I'm perched up in the tree and looking into his window as the two of them lay in bed together. You dare live freely when you've destroyed or ruined so many other lives. With the power granted to me from the bath, I spring from the branch and crash right through the window. Mary Beckman screams as Granite reaches for his gun. At the same time, I draw my sword. He doesn't even have his gun halfway aimed at me when I relieve him of both his weapon and his hand. Granite looks at his lack of an appendage in complete surprise before screaming at the realization that he's losing blood at an alarming rate. He slumps back down, and the white sheets become crimson fast. Even his companion's scantily clad body becomes soaked. I approach the bed and look down at Granite. Is this how your victims felt before you killed or violated them? Beckman looks up at me with hateful eyes. You bitch! And how often have you harbored this fugitive? I answer back. But no longer. I raise my sword. And now Richard Granite and Mary Beckman. Let the punishment fit the crime. And, without further hesitation, I drive my sword through Granite's heart. I feel the end come out his back and penetrate the mattress, all the way into the box spring. He only jerks for a moment before his life is mine. Seeing Beckman moving in a futile attempt to jump at me, I quickly lift and remove the sword from Granite's body. I whirl the handle fast and drive my weapon through her heart as well. She remains on her knees and gasps once before coughing up blood. I yank my blade back. Soon she falls on top of her man and dies with him. Now I remove a manila envelope from my pack and empty the contents all over them. Photographs of victims that Granite claimed. Richard Granite and Mary Beckman were not my first claims overall, but they are the first in a new chapter, a new era. I am the Angel of Death now. Perspective, Drake Kazmierczak. Every day seems so mundane anymore. Honestly, I really don't know where things are in my life right now. I originally came to Strickfield to find and end the Angel of Death. Years ago, she killed Annie Judge, the first woman I loved. Little did I realize that Annie's killer was the college intern who was assigned to me, Rage Devereaux. I fell in love with her upon seeing her. I really thought things were turning around for me, especially when I felt she cared for me too. I wanted to give Rage everything I had to offer, eventually asking her to marry me. All that went out the window when I learned Rage was the angel of death. Normally, I'd have arrested Rage on the spot, but I loved her so much. I didn't want to lose her. I was actually willing to look the other way since she had only killed bad people. Rage had a breakdown and told me I had to arrest her. Reluctantly, I did as she asked. I was still willing to be with her when she was sentenced to life at the Glenview Correctional Facility outside of North Ridgeway. On Christmas Eve, she ended things with me once and for all. Where do I go from here now? It seems like I get up in the morning, come into work, and then go back home and do nothing. I keep trying to pick up the pieces after Rage. I knew what I needed to do after Annie was over, but what do I do after Rage? Drake! I look up from my own thoughts and see Uncle Jeffrey, the chief of Strickfield PD. We glance at each other for a moment before he motions for me to step into his office. I come in and sit in front of his desk. When he sits behind it, he shows me the Strickfield Journal. As if I'm getting the answer I need, I gasp when I see the front story. Angel of Death returns. I read the article and see that within 1 week, this person claiming to be... I look up at Uncle Jeffrey. He nods once and tells me, I already called Glenview, Drake. It ain't Reagan Devereaux. I got positive IDs from several officials there that she's still quite happy with being locked in her cell, including her own mother who's visiting with her right now. He sighs. No, whoever this is, I'm afraid it's an entirely new killer, looking to succeed Rage. I suddenly stand up and slam my fists down on his desk. This person has no right! Uncle Jeffrey doesn't even flinch. I didn't want to assign you this case, 'cause I knew how you'd react. But you knew I'd get you to give it to me anyway. I finish for him. You might be right, he agrees. I know you're a mess, kid. Maybe giving you this case'll help you get your head back into your life again. I can get you a new partner if you... No, I interrupt fast. This one's mine. Just be careful, Drake. Remember, this new angel ain't Rage, he tells me. There's no way to know how far this one will go. I leave the office, knowing I need to stop whoever is trying to copycat Rage. Looking at another article in this morning's paper, I have a pretty good idea who she'll target next. How do I know this angel is a she? Call it a gut feeling.
Don't go away. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Perspective. Angel. I'm ready for another night after I've submerged myself in the bath. Tonight, I'm looking for Tony Carlito. I've been reading about him in newspapers and seeing stories about him on TV. It seems no matter how many times this drug lord has been arrested, the charges never seem to stick. Each and every time, the judge always dismisses the case. In every instance, citing the lack of credible evidence. What more is needed to convict this cold, unfeeling, soulless monster? Multiple lives have been lost or forever altered because of Carlito's drugs. I already began my crusade against him by claiming his lawyer, who was most instrumental in Carlito's freedom. If removing Carlito's attorney didn't get his attention, then killing his wife sure did. Since she was willing to live in luxury at the expense of the lives her husband corrupted or ended, then she herself was just as guilty. I even left photographs for Carlito to see. I'm just outside his house on the east end of Strickfield. Carlito must know I'm coming for him, since he's got guards posted outside each door. No doubt he'll have more inside. Carlito won't have to wait for me long. His judgment shall be carried out immediately. I move swiftly towards the house and draw my blade. The two henchmen guarding the front entrance don't see me until it's much too late. But by then, their blood begins quenching the thirst of my sword. They never even get to fire their weapons. I make my way to the back and claim the henchman there. My predecessor would never have done what I'm doing. I'm certain she would have just targeted Tony Carlito himself and claimed him when he least expected it. I prefer the direct approach. I enter the house and move with grace and elegance as I continue to slake my blade's thirst with the lives of those who serve Carlito. My predecessor had her own skill set, and I have mine. I continue to slay those who would serve Carlito. If any of them knew what was good for them, they would escape and never look back. This is likely the only way they would avoid judgment. However, they aren't that intelligent. Now I stand before Tony Carlito as he sits in his recliner in his extravagant bedroom. He doesn't even look on me with fear as I stand, ready to claim him. He knows I've slain his people and is the only one left. I merely await his movement to know how I'm going to destroy him. As he continues to look upon me, I remove the 2 manila envelopes from my pack and dump the contents onto the floor for him to see. He only smiles a little as he sees the photographs of how many of his victims looked when the police found them. He'll likely be another photograph when the police find his body. Y ahora, Tony Carlito, que el castigo se ajuste al crimen, I tell him. Carlito is quickly to his feet after pulling an automatic weapon out from behind his chair. I move to him, flipping and blocking his bullets with my blade. He's showing me his teeth when he sees I'm still coming. The last sound he ever makes is his roar of determination to put me down. The last sound he hears is the click at knowing his magazine is empty. The last thing I'm sure he sees, briefly, is how high he quickly ascends into the air after I've separated his head from his body with a swift swipe of my blade. However, I only begin to watch the body slowly descend to the floor when I feel someone else is near. Perspective, Drake Kazmierczak. God damn it, I'm too late. At last I finally see the woman. At least I was right in that fact. So many photographs on the floor. Like Rage, she's leaving those for the police when her victims are found. But Rage never carried a sword or wore a full red and black costume. The only thing that's not covered by her outfit is her long, dark hair. It's like I'm in a goddamn comic book here. The woman has her sword raised in front of her. If I didn't know better, I'd swear the blade was glowing a little. Her eyes are covered by what looks like mirrors. She can see me, but I can't see her. She has a more athletic build than Rage, but nowhere near as well endowed. I aim my gun at her. I am not letting you do this, I tell her. The Angel of Death is finished, you hear me? Finished! The work will never be finished, Detective Kazmierczak, she says calmly. I promise you, if you succeed in killing me, There will always be another angel. Will you be able to stop all of us? Just drop the sword and come along quietly, I order her. You know that's not going to happen, she replies. You will never take me alive. You gonna kill me the way you did Carlito? I yell. You're innocent, she answers. You're not deserving of my wrath. I've got to take a chance here. You're not following Rage Devereaux. If you don't drop the sword, I'll stop you by any means necessary. I mean it. Don't make me kill you. There's a long silence between us. None of us makes a move. That sword's really getting under my skin with how it glows. Where the hell did she get such a weapon? For that matter, where does she come from and who trained her? Even Rage couldn't do the things this woman's doing. Why the hell would you follow Rage? I yell. Even you must know that criminals continue to prey on innocence, she tells me, still calm. Your inferior system of law continues to put criminals back on the streets. Such people have no regard for other lives. They deserve to die, Drake. If you, the law, can't stop them, then the angel of death will. I shake my head. You are not the angel of death. You're not picking up after Rage. Again, Detective Kazmierczak. How will you stop me? She asks, again calm. I run at her. She waits for me to approach. When I'm almost to her, she tosses her sword into the air. Then she leaps right up onto my shoulders, springs off from them, and flips to reclaim her weapon. Just as I'm turning around, she's right there behind me. The next thing I know, she easily snatches my gun with such speed and does a backflip away from me. I'm about to go for my second gun in the back of my jeans when I feel the bullet hit me square in the chest. Perspective, angel. I really messed up. I've been away from my game for far too long. I was too eager to destroy Tony Carlito that I never thoroughly checked the house for others. Carlito had a second woman he was intimate with. It was this woman who suddenly appeared and fatally shot Detective Kazmierczak. I quickly swiped my crystalline dagger and beheaded her as well. However, I couldn't just leave the detective there to bleed out. He didn't deserve to die, especially because of a mistake I made. I've never brought an outsider into these caverns, but even if it means my own downfall, I must right this wrong. Naked, I enter the bath once more. This time, however, I carry the detective into the waters with me, for only they can right my wrong. I had to use special herbs to keep him alive until I could submerge him within the waters. I watch his wounds heal up. Soon he'll awaken. He'll easily see me without my costume. For a brief moment, I let Detective Kazmierczak sink below the waters to finish the healing process. Then he suddenly resurfaces and finally sees me. What is this place? He demands. Then he realizes he's quite naked in the bath with me. I couldn't let you die, I tell him simply. Drake immediately understands. You are not Rage. You won't replace her. I won't let you. He sees me leave the bath. Drake quickly swims to follow me. Now there truly is nothing between either of us. He tightens his fists. I won't let you. I tighten mine. I know you won't, I whisper, before I strike and knock him unconscious. Perspective, Drake Kazmierczak. No! I yell and quickly sit up to find I'm in my apartment, in my bed. I remember being shot and go look in the mirror. I can't believe it. I know I was shot. Then I remember being in that cave with those glowing crystals, and I was in that warm, clear water. I don't know what was in that water, but it felt so wonderful. Then I remember something else. I've seen that young woman who wore that costume. I've seen that young woman's face. I know exactly what she looks like in every detail. Then I realize there's no gray in my hair whatsoever. I look like I'm at least 10 years younger. I shake my head quickly. No, I'm not believing that those waters did that to me. What I do believe is that I must find that young woman and bring her down. I got to find her again and stop her. You will not be another rage, I vow. You will not be another angel of death. But you want to know what's really eating away at me right now? Somehow, deep down, I feel I actually know that young woman from somewhere. Now, thanks to that young woman, I have a purpose. I will not rest until I find you again. And I will stop you. Well, my spookies, I know much like myself, many of you have a fondness for Rage Devereaux and the Angel of Death. It appears someone, or something, is running with her concept and taking it to darkly, deeper territories. Make sure you're subscribed because this story will unravel more and more as time goes on. You could take that to the bank. Of course, they won't know what to do with it when you're there, but they do often have free suckers, so get one of those. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I had a great time reading the story, and I hope you did too. So many interesting things are going on in Strickfield. In fact, over at weeklyspooky.com/join, there's an entire exclusive novella for you to enjoy. Just go to weeklyspooky.com and sign up, and you can listen to The April Fool. It's a novel-length mini-series in the Strickfield universe, and you can catch up on the previous novella, The Weekend, only available at weeklyspooky.com/join. And speaking of, I want to say an extra special thank you to our Patreon podcast boosters, folks who pay just a little bit more to hear their names at the end of the show. And they are Kate and Lulu, Jessica Fuller, Johnny Nix, Jenny Green, Amber Hansford, Brent McCullough, Karen Wiemet, Jack Kerr, and Craig Cohen. And if you want to hear your name in my spooky, silky voice right here at the end of the show, just go to weeklyspooky.com/join and choose a support level at $15 a month or higher. It really helps the show a hell of a lot. I do appreciate it, and it guarantees more spooky for another 5 years and beyond. But now it's time for me to get back to work. There's so much more spooky to do. So for myself, for my executive producers Rob Fields, Mark Shields, and Bobbletopia.com, my producer Dan Wilder, and my composer Ray Mattis, I will talk at you next time. But until then, don't commit any crimes. It won't end well.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you are safe. Trust me.